Hi everyone, Jim Perkins here and welcome to my shop. I thought I'd take a few minutes today and do a short video on how I go about doing the edges on my leather. I make a fairly basic sheath for my blades. I don't do a lot of tooling. Most of the time I don't do any at all. But what I do try to pay attention to are the edges on my leather when I do them. And by no means is the way that I do it the only way or necessarily the best way, but it's the way that I do it to try to achieve a very smooth edge where you almost can't even tell that there are multiple pieces of leather in the edge. You know, there are some guys out there that are just artists when they do their leather. I mean, that's the only way you can describe it. And I don't pretend to match their level of expertise in working their leather, but I do take pride in having clean edges on my sheaths. They don't usually have any tooling, so the least I can do, in my opinion, is to make sure that the edges are clean, slick, and look nice. So I'll be showing you a video on my process today. I do most of the sanding on my belt sander. I'll run up through the grits up through about 1,000 grit on my edges to smooth them down, slick them down, while trying to maintain a curve or a bevel so that the edge of the leather gives you a nice little swoop and looks clean. You can do them squared off, that's fine, there's no problem with doing that. Personal preference, I just like them a little rounded. I think they look better when they're slicked down and when the sheath is complete. But by all means, take what I'm saying here with a grain of salt, adapt it to your needs and how you think your sheaths look best when you're done. So I'll go to the grinder now and we'll see how this turns out as I run through the grits to get this thing ready to go. All right, thanks a lot. So here we are after dyeing and initial burnishing. And the reason I do this before I stitch is if you're going to groove the leather, which I typically do, or at least line it with a divider, it allows the to ride on this edge, which is smooth and straight. So there's no jagged edges for it to get hung up on and make any errant marks in your leather. Plus you get a consistently distant line from the edge as you work your way around the edge. So now I'm ready. What I'll do is I'll stitch this up, and then I will finish burnishing it, and then I usually apply a coat of saddle lac to it. So we'll get on that next. So after you've done your initial sanding and your burnishing and your dyeing of the leather, and then when we left off last time, I was going to go sew this, which I've done, and then I wet formed it to the knife. And I'll do a whole different video on wet forming. I'll have that one coming up next. But you should have this. This is after I come back. I did my finish burnishing on it and hit it with some saddle lac to clean it up. The edges, as you can tell, the little leak hole here is supposed to be there, but the edge looks like it's supposed to be. You can't really tell unless you stick it under a microscope that it's more than one piece of leather, which is what you're looking for. Now, that said, there are a lot of guys that make sheaths out there with a rustic look, and that's because that's the type of style that they're going for. And you'll know the difference if you're at a gun and knife show and you see a bunch of guys out there with leather that looks like crap versus the guys who are going for the rustic look. There's a difference in how they do their leather, and you'll know it when you see it. But just because you don't do a lot of tooling on your leather doesn't mean that you can't take the few extra minutes that it takes to make the sheath look nice. Like I said, this is a very straightforward sheath. There's nothing fancy about it, but it's clean, the edges are nice, it's well rounded, and it looks good. And it fits the knife really nice, and it's not coming out. So just because you don't spend a lot of time tooling it doesn't mean you can't take pride in what you're producing. So this will be on the table at the Blade Show. So come by and take a look. I look forward to seeing you. Thanks a lot, guys. Bye.